his reconnaissance work is hilarious. So he, alongside some lieutenant colonels, they all just dressed as civilians and they like went to places like Vermont, basically just doing surveys. And the historian Pierce Burton captured this in his book, uh, describing one of the investigations where, like, what the historian says is he found that after reading the notes from Brown, he found it was like it had a really zany flavor to it, and it was reminiscent of like the silent comedies of the day. And basically, what he was like saying is he found some quotes as to the observations Brown had when Brown was like just taking guys into bars in Vermont. That's like that was his reconnaissance, and yeah, so
Reconnaissance.
yeah, so and I read it myself. It's hard to get your hands on some of this, but Brown basically he went to like Burlington in Vermont, great place to go shopping, by the way. And he went to some like pubs, and what he said was that the Americans consume less alcohol than Canadians, and he said this must have been because of prohibition. And he mentioned that like here's a quote: "My God, I'd go for a glass of beer. I'm going to Canada to get some more." So this is like kind of things that he would hear from Vermonters and stuff. And he said that overall the Americans were kind of like on the fatter side even then, and he didn't think that they would. He basically he had this assumption I read somewhere that if the Americans invaded, the Canadians might be able to bribe them with drinks, which is just like a weird thing that he wrote. Yeah. Um, Brown, it seems that he was inspired by Buster Keaton, excuse me, as he and his four fellow officers under his command were donning disguises. They loaded into their Model T and they began like an espionage mission along the Canadian New England border. And Brown took pictures while he was doing this. After learning more about the men of Vermont at bars, he had this quote to say: "They are fat and lazy, but pleasant and congenial. Also, the rural American women appear to be heavy and not a very commonly lot." So, yeah. And it was his belief that if Americans are not actually lazy, they have a very deliberate way of working and apparently believe in frequent rests and gossip. So, that was his opinion of the Americans when he went over. And Vermont, which yeah, pretty laid back Vermont. They're the closest thing you get to a Canadian United States, by the way.